Alright, so this is the second devlog. My goal this week was to complete 4 minigame tutorial from the Zenva site. I almost didn't make it this time because, I work 12-hour shifts from Wednesday to Sunday every other week. This is kind of part of the reason why I'm doing this. Because of such a schedule, I would work those 5 12-hour days and then get tired and find myself lacking motivation. So doing this weekly and giving myself assignments should hopefully keep me in line, but it's time to show what I actually did. I had mentioned before that I was too busy following orders instead of actually taking them in. So this time, while I was following the orders, I put down notes in the code to not only write it out as a means of understanding what I'm actually doing, and printing it into my head, but this will also help me understand these lines when I go back and look through these if I ever want to find inspiration, or if I'm like, oh, how did I do this? And I can look back at the code and an explanation, hopefully, will be there that I can understand. So, the first one was a balloon popper minigame. This one, I created balloons. They'll have a separate scene, so this was something very important that they wanted. And it's, if you're having multiple objects at the same kind of thing, you make that object its own scene, and then you can mess with the model, collision, and all this other stuff. So then all you need to do is duplicate whatever node it is, and it makes the main scene look a lot more readable and legible. So for this, I can just start, and then when I click, it grows, and eventually when I hit 5, it pops, it gives me a score. So it helps me take in clicking inputs on certain objects, specifically the collision of the balloon, and it helps me keep track of a score. So in, let's say the script balloon manager, so this is what I mean by writing down notes. Function when ready calls in when the scene starts. That's what the ready function does. Score text variable is linking to the score text label, so I'm calling in the score text, and it is immediately calling in the score text label right here. And then this overrides the label to say score 0. So when I start it and this says score 0, as opposed to when I click here and the text right here, it says score and then nothing, I'm overwriting what this text is to say score 0. So this is how helpful I'm trying to be when I write down notes in the code. The next tutorial that I took on was a physics tutorial. Basically, I got all these crates, and here's the player. If I play the scene wherever I click, it's going to go towards where I click, and it will just push around everything, messing with physics. If I hold it down, you see the character constantly wants to go to my mouse, and obviously as it clicks other things, or rather as it collides with other things, it's moving all the other crates based on speed, based on the crate hitting another crate. It's all about how these objects interact with each other. I got so many crates. Something else that I learned along with it, getting into the inspector, messing with mass, messing with damp. Damp specifically makes the player slow down as it gets to its destination. So let's say I click this, hit the player, mass. So if I hit input, you can see it move just like it normally did before. If I mess with the mass, yeah, it's just flying now. That's crazy. But yeah, that's because it's super light right now. So I can make it a little bit in between. Let's just make it 2.5. There, that's a bit more manageable. Still a little crazy, but, and then of course I can make it fat. So now it's gonna go really slow. This sort of helped me come up with an idea of like just making a little obstacle course and having like a top-down sneak through a maze kind of level where, you know, you got something going back and forth, so you might want to sneak through, and having it kind of slide by. Well, yeah, that's another thing too. Can I find the damp real quick? Yeah, linear damp. So if I mess with the damp, like let's say it's 2, you can see how it slides for a lot longer. So if I mess with the damp again, if I put a more extreme at like 7, it like stops almost right away. So more stuff I learned. For this one, this is all about collision. So for this, specifically signals, this green little arrow. Signals is something I really need to get used to in like, well, in Godot, but like the idea of signals in other stuff, in other kinds of coding languages. For whatever reason, signals really trip me up. It's like trying to get code to interact with another piece of code or function or node or anything like that. I feel like I end up overthinking it a bit too much, so you can kind of see I overcomplicated this comment here. That's just how I feel like I need to proceed. So for this, it's simple. I just slide down the hill. I hit left or right. If I collide, I reset the scene. So that's technically a death. And you make it to the bottom without getting hit. And she'll just fall forever and ever. So the last tutorial was about loops, primarily about how to abuse and use loops instead of rewriting code. As you can see, I wrote down a ton of notes for this, but for this, I got taught how to load in a scene right from the beginning. Again, a pack scene is a scene that we have in our file system, so right here, somewhere in here. So pack scene, this is calling in loops stars, so loops start scene. And then ready, again, ready calls in this piece of code right when you start up the game or the scene. And then for I in spawn count, so this is a for loop. And specifically, I can be made as anything. So if I wanted this to say for star in spawn count, that would also work just fine. I just stands for what? Increments? How many times it increments? Because it's how many times it's looping. So this var star instantiate the star scene. So calls the star scene variable into memory. It only spawns it into memory. Does not show it inside our main scene. So you can kind of see right here on the main scene, there's nothing there. And here is the star scene where it's just this image of the star over here. So normally without the rest of this code, without this add child star, it would do nothing. But since I have that there, it's going to call in another branch node right here. Adds another scene into the current scene. So yeah, adds the star scene into the main loop scene. And then up here we have, is that wrong? There we go, just slide it over. Add export, so that just allows it to be seen in the inspector. Variable spawn count, and it's 200, and you can make this whatever number you want because it's an export. So whatever number you put out here, it will override whatever number you have in here. This is just a base so that it has a base to work off of. So if I play the scene, It's going to spawn 150 stars. That, it doesn't look like 150 stars, but I ain't counting. 500. Yeah, that don't look right. There we go. That's much more. Do I gotta save it every time? 300? I might need to save it every time. Yeah, because I'm hitting play scene and I'm not hitting the play function, because right now my default scene is the balloon popper. So if I hit play, it's going to always spawn the balloon popper. If I hit play scene, it does not save the script and the changes to it. But yeah, the star position, random number, it just spawns it in at a random range from anywhere between this x-axis and then this is the y-axis. This is the range. So specifically, I find that range through here. This is a nice little thing they added, I think, in the most recent Godot update. You got your pixels, so this is 250 by, or negative 250 by 250, and then I don't want to move it like that, but like if I do this, the numbers down here will tell me the range. So 250 or 280, 280, and then the y-axis 150 around there and 150. So that's what I based this range off of. But yeah, that's the what I've done. And the two games that I've thought of that I could possibly make from this is a clicker game, obviously with the balloon clicker, but something appears and you need to click something fast enough and you get enough points based on how many times you can click it before it disappears or something like that, or possibly defend the tower kind of situation where I have objects going into the center to hit something and you need to click them all off before they hit the tower, and the tower has so much HP and yada yada, something like that. I've already mentioned about this where it's like a sneaking game, based off the physics tutorial, where it's a sneaking game where you click and you need to make your way through some obstacles. So those are some ideas that I've gotten from these. With this, the collision will help with that too, because as soon as the player enters an enemy sight position or collision, it's, you either restart the level, game over, you get so many tries, yada yada, stuff like that. So that's ideally what I would like to do going forward. I can maybe think of something to draw out for that, but it's supposed to be super simple and applying all of this code that I've written in here and using it for an example. So hopefully I can get something super small, super basic by next week, hopefully by Monday again, and that'll be it. So thank you for staying with me, and I'll see you next week.